Well, Mr. Pot, I will want to ask you one final question. After systematically murdering 2 million people and causing misery around Cambodia, is your conscience clear?
You reporters always ask the same question. Is my conscience clear? It's not your fault, of course. It's the West who is to blame. They've brainwashed all of you in this room. Well, the West has always had the power to twist facts, mystify happenings, and spread lies. And it uses its power, just like a snake uses its venom, to make the whole world deaf and blind. The international community is weak in front of the West and follows its every order without the slightest hesitation. Unfortunately, I was one of the greatest victims of Western lies, and all of my accomplishments were spat on as if they were meaningless. That is why I am here today, in order to clarify the truth about what happened in Cambodia during the 1970s. Please, I beg you to forget everything the Western liars have told you and face the facts. They are staring at us right in the face, and now you are choosing to ignore them. When I was a child, my parents infected my mind with Western culture, customs, and ideals. I never had to work for food nor water. I lived as if I were better than the rest. I always had an interest in radio electronics, and in 1949, I went to the heart of the West, Paris, France, to study for my future career. While I was in Paris, some very odd thoughts crossed my mind. I was surprised by how unfair the West was, and how separated and different the social classes seemed to be. In addition to this, I noticed how only the smart and the rich seemed to prosper in this system. I was so focused on my analysis that I actually lost track of my studies and lost my scholarship. Yet, in France, I experienced firsthand how cruel a capitalist nation is to its people, and how all the commodities they have only prevents them from true happiness. While I was in France, I learned of a new socio-economic system called communism. It consisted of creating a classless society where everything belonged to the government. It seemed perfect, and when I arrived in Phnom Penh, I learned there was a Cambodian Communist Party. I did not hesitate when I joined them, and after years of hard work and determination, I found myself as their leader. While I was scaling the ranks of the Cambodian Communist Party, I had an epiphany. I realized the Cambodians were confused and hypnotized by the West. They thought that true happiness lied in money, cars, buildings, expensive houses, TVs, and beds, instead of in nature, agriculture, villages, and family. I just wanted to remind Cambodians what true happiness was all about. And I was determined to do this, and not even the seemingly invincible Lone Nung would stop me. So, in 1975, after years of hard work and determination, my vision and leadership made me leader of Cambodia. I immediately turned it into an agrarian communist nation where everybody would serve as farmers. I call this year zero because it would be a new start for every single Cambodian, an era where everybody would reach their life goals. During my 4 years, I accomplished more than anybody had done in the past. I freed city dwellers from their troubled lives and sent them to live happily in rural villages in the countryside. Once there, the only obligation they had with their nation was to produce the agriculture they would need, not me. They would need to survive. I viewed this as the only way that Cambodians could reach true balance in their lives. Later on, I opened camps where orphan children could go and learn to work enthusiastically for the Ankar. We would play the role of loving parents so that there are children to live happily in their new lives. Lastly, my most difficult accomplishment was to free Cambodia from the Western grip by eliminating all commodities the West had brought. Unfortunately, this task seemed a little harder than we expected. Too many Cambodians were too intoxicated with Western customs and culture. So we had no other choice but to neutralize this group of people in order for the rest of Cambodia to live freely. So, what I have just told you are the facts, and the Western vipers have been lying to you all along. But, unfortunately, it seems as if the world has forgotten all the good deeds I performed and how I, Pol Pot, changed Cambodia for the better. It is quite a shame, actually, that the world will remember me as a killer rather than as a liberator. Since, at the end of the day, everything I did for the good of my people and for my beloved nation. So, if you believe that I systematically killed 2 million people and brought misery around Cambodia, I want to ask you a simple question. Look at me now. Am I a savage person? No. I didn't think so. I am a family man with ideals and ethics. That is why, yes, my conscience is clear.